Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Kinguin Pro League 2015 with me, Lothar. We're just done casting the third match of the day. We have 3 more to go. The next one up is between 2 of the possibly most known players out there in the Hearthstone scene. I don't know. There are 2 names that have been around for forever. Kolento's reputation doesn't even need to be made again. The winner of multiple first places in major events. And Hyped, a player which I think, despite his amazing skill, has been, it's one of the few players in the game that in the scene right now that hasn't really had this big win under his belt despite his presence.
Yeah, that's very true. Like, he's very skilled. I really love his mindset and thought process. When he streams, he always is so in detail about every single play, and he lacks that tournament win. The same goes for Renet for a long time, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a trademark for Templestone.
Yeah, to have players that haven't been able to get necessarily that big one, first place win in a huge event. So hopefully Hyped will be able to do pretty well. I mean, he's currently 2-1 in the Kinguin Pro League. What's really nice about that is that he's going up against Kolento, who is currently 1-2. So if Hyped takes this series, he's going to be 3-1 in his bracket, which is going to make him pretty happy about that. I mean, being in the group at 3-1. And not only that, but he will have gone through the Kolento match. He will have already been done with it, so for the rest of the matches that he's got to look forward to, if he does beat Kolento, that's going to be somewhat of a relief.
I think so. Like, Kolento, if Kolento will be 1-3, that's really tough for him. Like, making a comeback from a 1-3, it's really something you don't want to do, especially in the first 4 weeks, And Orange is even in a worse position, so you have to imagine the emotions going now through Orange, and we'll see how it goes with this match, because this will be very interesting, a very interesting challenge between those 2 players, and I don't know actually who I want to root for. I really like both players.
You kind of don't want to root for any of them because they're both amazing, but at the same time you want to pick a side. And I'm like, the only thing is, I was gonna say I'm gonna root for the Rogue player, but they both brought Rogue. Oh. Kolento has Priest, Rogue, and Warlock, and the Hyped has Druid, Mage, and Rogue. So I've actually got no one to root for, but there's a Priest, so I'm gonna be biased.
That's a problem.
And I'm gonna
a problem.
It is a problem in this specific setting, but the thing is, I'm going to root for Kolento just because he brought Priest to the tournament. Just because of that. I mean, I haven't seen anyone else still, after all this time, bring Priest.
Just to bring a balance, if you're rooting for Kolento here, then I have to root for Hyped, right?
Yeah,
so
that's right.
We can have like a rivalry between the casters. I'll have to see how it goes. But we are saying similar things about the Warrior in a Mars match, right? That the Warrior was a weak link in the deck choices from a Mars, and with Kolento it feels like the same, because the Priest is really bad against Druid and Rogue, and against Mage is still a coin flip, I think.
Yeah.
So maybe it will be the same outcome as a Mars match, because he squeezed a win with a Ragnaros, and who knows what will be there in that Priest deck.
Could Hyped bring Freeze Mage, though? I mean, it's possible that Hyped brought something a little different. I know the first match is going to be Rogue versus Rogue, so that's going to be a coin flip. I would tend to give the edge to Hyped just because of the amount of wins and maybe games he's played with Rogue. That just totally, he's played over 10,000 games with that class alone, so I wouldn't even be surprised. His experience will speak volumes in the Rogue matchup. Now, obviously, this is a small sample size. It's only 1 match, Rogue versus Rogue. One of the Rogues will win. We know that for a fact. But if the experience of Hyped is going to shine anywhere, it might be just in this specific matchup. And I liked his analysis recently. I was reading something he wrote about the common mistakes that people make while playing against rogues, and that is killing Blood Mage Thalnos when the spell power is irrelevant, and killing Violet Teacher, because when you kill Violet Teacher, there's no more 1/1s that spawn that could absorb the Tincture Sharpsword, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So
true
by
also.
killing the Violet Teacher, you're ensuring that he's going to be able to direct the 1/1, the Tinker Sharpsword that is, where
the
he
1/1s,
wants.
yeah.
So sometimes it's better to just let the 1/1 spawn on a hopeful Tinkers that's going to, kind of whiff, and you're going to be able to recover from that. Obviously, you've got to pick your fights, but those slight plays, those slight little situation, Hyped has analyzed, and he's figured those out. So he's definitely very comfortable with the deck itself.
The same goes for silencing the Violet Teacher, you know? It's
Yeah.
like giving the edge to the rogue player with oil in his hand.
You're giving him the ability to just get himself a buffed up Violet Teacher if you won't kill it right away.
Yeah, well, we'll be seeing a mirror match. Well, maybe not mirror because there's a sludge belcher.
Well, a lot of versions have looked similar. Some players play more.
Oh,
What?
wow.
Hyped has Kel'Thuzad.
Okay, so this is a value rogue.
This is a huge card. The thing is, I don't know how good it's gonna be. I mean,
So
in the mirror match, it might come down to that.
we can try to guess the cards, right? There will be many death rattles. Most likely.
I would bet Shredders. I mean, he could even be playing Sky Golems.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I could see Sky Golem in this deck.
So,
Oh, man.
well, Dr. Boom will be there for sure. Like turn 7 Dr. Boom into turn 8 Kel'Thuzad to sacrifice the bombs and get them back. But still, it's not like this type of rogue might be very similar to a mech mage, and you know, rogue is not bad against a mech mage because
Right.
you can clear the board easily.
So if this turns out to be a Mech Mage similar, like a deck that's akin to Mech Mage, then Kolento could have a pretty decent play. Like a decent chance of this fight here. Well,
So
I
you
think
just
Farseer's a
draw
bit weak
the
to
Farseer.
deadly.
It is weak to deadly, but you don't want to sacrifice the coin
for just a Shredder.
because
I
you
think
have a
everything Farseer
shredder.
is okay.
Yeah, you have a shredder into belcher, into whatever you will draw in the next 3 turns, and then you can coin out Kel'Thuzad if the board is right.
I'd like to see a Trogzor.
Oh, sprint? Do you sprint this turn? 3? I
you're
think
gonna
you
be on
do.
9 cards.
Yeah.
Why not? You can even, if you don't find that, you can't play deadly, so you're just gonna backstab trade if you want to.
Oh, that's the
Or-
second back, so definitely. Oh, maybe you can afford to wait 1 turn.
Can you? I mean, what if there's a massive prep play with like triple Tinkers and quadruple Deadly Poison with infinite Eviscerates?
Well, that's a lot.
Yeah, but it's totally possible. Am I right?
Yeah, okay, if you say so. You're the gimmick player with all those decks, so you know better. I bet there were like 10 low walker shows running
Yeah.
around that game.
Yeah, I actually have a problem getting rid of them in my apartment right now. I have like 17 low walker shows hiding but like under furniture. Whenever I cast sap on my neighbor, she just comes back nonstop. She keeps sapping me and then I sap her back. Never stops. Well, this is kind of a weird turn. It's gonna be Belcher versus Belcher.
Yeah, Belcher versus Belcher, but there's one sap, and there's another sap. So do you... Oh, I like this. But do you want to
I'm
sap...
gonna downsize you.
So the problem with Galawix
Oh man.
in the rogue matchup is that you can give your opponent a one turn lethal
With the coin, yeah,
with the
insta-kill.
coins, and that's that's like a double-edged sword, you know. It can be
Correct.
really great or really bad.
Am I just hallucinating here, or does Kolento have a pretty bad play if he doesn't sap anything? I mean, you can't really play the Drake on this board.
Well, you have to sap.
Yeah, but that's kind of awkward because the only follow-up you've really got is
Eviscerate
yeah.
and
Oh
dagger
my
up.
goodness.
That's not a position you want to be in.
Well, you can Drake Eviscerate next turn and possibly deal with the Belcher as a whole if it comes back down, but this is going to be a
Well,
trade
now-
Prince Galliwix, 100%
Yeah, I think
of
so.
the time.
And he even kills a Belcher if he needs to.
Oh
so
man, that
Wind Will
5/8.
Slam. Trade Prince Galawix. I didn't hear the music right now, but that was something like this, right?
Yeah, he does play music. It's one of the most awesome battle cries, so to speak. Well, the good thing is Kolento could get downsized here. He has to play Drake, backstab, eviscerate, but I mean, yeah, Can't feel good. Oh man. That's an exact kill on Trade Prince, and he gets 2 coins back, you know, so it's not that horrible. I don't know.
I think you have to do it. Blade Flurry. Doesn't change anything.
That's got to feel awful, but at the same time, you're getting yourself coins, so let's not complain. Those are combo initiators for the future, or the ability to,
but
you know,
the
bigger
eviscerate,
tinkers.
that's something you don't want to give the other rogue, you know?
Yeah, definitely not. Giving him more damage. Basically giving him more ability
look.
to win the game outright.
That's
Yeah,
a double pair.
That's a good
So,
all
Belcher
in.
into
Just go all
Eviscerate? Yeah. By all in, you mean Belcher and Eviscerate?
Yeah, that's exactly it. you bet your entire mana pool.
Well, Sap seems to be quite good too. 3, 6, 9 cards, so he will be overdrawing 1.
That could be funny. I don't know if it's an optimal line of play, but it's definitely one you can consider. Problem is, 2 of those cards are going to get removed right away because he's just going to
So you will have no mill value from that Sap in late during the upcoming turn. So if you want to do it, you have to do it this turn. And
I don't dislike it. I just don't know if I really want to let my opponent cycle his rogue deck versus my rogue deck.
Well, he knows that there's a Belcher because he sapped it once. So I think you want to keep the sap for the Belcher being played second time. Because it's like gaining 6 points of mana over your opponent, so it's almost like a free turn.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's quite nice.
Quite nice. That's an understatement. There's no AoE right now in Hype's hand. If
Well,
that
Hype
Violet
will
T-shirt comes
get,
out,
like,
he goes.
2 more draws. Free.
Yeah.
The backstabs will have so much value right now.
Yeah, this is insane. Those backstabs dealing 3 damage.
Well, maybe you just skip the second one and you use
Eviscerate?
No, wait. You use Drake, backstab, eviscerate, backstab. Oh.
The return of Tempo Rogue.
So do you I think you sap again, right?
Oh, yeah, you could sap and just get damage in and force him to replay that Belcher once.
And then you have the Black Knight and you just kill the Belcher.
Oh man, and the worst part is Kolento is forced in the position of having to play the Belcher, because otherwise there's way too much incoming damage.
Well, you know what I'm interested in? If Hype is even playing oils or deadly poisons here.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that too. I haven't seen any, but he's playing Blade Flurries, right? No, he's not. I haven't seen any.
We didn't see any. And
it's Tempo Rogue.
He was thinking about attacking with the dagger right now, and when he does something like this, like he's thinking about squeezing squeezing 1 point of damage, when there will be most likely no mana left to redagger, I think he just doesn't play those cards.
That's gonna be a really nice turn for Kolento.
50,
get a deadly.
to hit it.
No, he's just gonna get a perfect Blade Flurry here. It's just insane.
Oh, holy!
That's a board wipe. And now Hype needs to find an answer to this, and I just don't see any on his hand right now. And that Belcher, you know, the value he wanted to extract out of that Black Knight is not going to be able to be found. And Kolento's hand is still pretty rife with options.
So Prince Galawik's kind of backfired now.
Yeah, those coins are just devastating. Oh wow, what a whiff.
So you have to play Drake and draw into not this. So you eviscerate Violet Teacher and backstab the 4/1, kill 1/1. And you redagger. Right?
You backstab what? You have to kill yeah, the 4/1 with the Tinker Structure. Okay. Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward turn, but it would have been easier to handle. Then again, you look at Kolento's board.
It's not bad.
Yeah, and he's got pretty good options, but Hype has more minions. So if that Belcher comes down...
there's a Drake. There's a Drake, so you can play Drake and throw backstab. No, we played 2. Oh, never mind.
Do you consider Lothar right away? Because you can't deal with those...
I think Kolento will play the Lothar just to deny the spell power.
With the Drake, yeah, since you can't kill it.
Yes, you won't kill it anyway, and you deny any kind of spells basically too. Little he knows that Hype has no spells.
What about Fan of Knives, Hero Power? You just dagger up and set up for a potential next flurry. That
So
deals
you
2 damage to the Drake.
sacrifice 2/1/1s?
Yeah.
You know there's no AoE in Hype's hand, so you do you want to sacrifice those? I don't think so.
We'll see what he does. He could sacrifice just 1 by taking damage. It's also an option, but I don't think you can afford taking that 4 damage at this point. Every point of health counts at this stage of the game. Well,
So
there's not a bad play here. Well, Dr. Boom Edwin, because
Yeah.
why not?
Dr. Boom
That-
seems kind of nice, but it will be met with a Blade Flurry next turn.
What if you just Earthling Farseer, Shredder, Edwin? Isn't that's a bit stronger, but you're also super vulnerable to Blade Flurry again. You're getting a 6/6 Edwin, which is not too bad, but maybe you don't even play Edwin here. And you
So
just
just
Earthling
kill-
Farseer instead. Because Blade Flurry with Deadly Poison would still kill your Edwin, and it would kill the Earthling. The problem is you're
Yeah,
not
you're
getting
right.
health back.
Yeah, Farseer
Better
seems to be
for-
better here.
We'll see what he opts for. I think both are kind of fine, or you could keep the Farseer for a future Edwin combo, and force your opponent to use an AoE on a 1 minion.
That also seems like a valid play.
You have to be very, very afraid of another Blade Flurry, though, and he exactly is afraid of that, so he's gonna be healing himself up just a little bit.
Oh, so now it gets to 4, 5, 6 points of damage with Blade Flurry, right?
Yeah, but what if Blood Mage fails? Yeah, the Blade Flurry is you're gonna have to combo this, so you might have to go for Shredder first, and
What
then
about-
Tinker's Blade Flurry, so you can't get a spell damage.
Yeah.
That's kind of the drawback of this line of play.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
if he goes
Uh-oh.
for the Belcher, this will be heavily punished.
It will be punished, and that reminds me of the olden, the days of Tempo Rogue. I remember those decks that were... The thing is, they relied heavily on Deadly Poison to maintain the early board control, but I haven't seen any in Hyped. I would be surprised if he's not running at least the Deadly. But then again, maybe he's just going for a no dagger, not dagger reliant strategy.
He goes for the Shredder. Yeah, he goes for the safe play. No, he goes for the Belcher. Wow.
Well, at least there's not gonna be a board wipe, but this Black Knight is gonna...
What about Kel'Thuzad here?
Well, actually, wait, can you really afford that? Wow, I like
wow.
this. This is Tempo Rogue. 100% Tempo Rogue.
So
You have to clear
can-
this board. You have
yeah,
to.
you
clear
have
it.
to. But do you play Kel'Thuzad? Because you get
You
get
can't.
the
You can't
But
wipe the
it's so
board if you play
sweet.
KT.
yeah.
I don't.
But it'll feel so good, I think. So you now attack into the slime and sacrifice firstborn, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have this. This entire board needs to get. Like,
Oh, that's unlucky.
that's a pretty big whiff. Hyped is gonna have to get pretty lucky with that second bomb. He's gonna have to attack the Drake with the bomb and then attack with a 3/3 to kill Lothar. This is the only way you can guarantee a board wipe. You can't let that Tinker's Sharp Sword have a body to use. Oh man.
That was very unlucky with that bomb.
Well,
So,
Hyped's board is looking pretty convincing.
it will be met with the Blade Fury now for sure. And
how
second
good
time
is
bomb
it?
for 1 point of damage. Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, but still, he's got the board, and I really like his board position right now. It's pretty hard to contest this entire thing. I mean, even Tinker's Sharp Sword, sure, it does what it has to, but
So
you're still
you
left
have
with that
to-
Shredder god.
No, you won't, because Kolento will attack into the piloted Shredder, right?
Yeah, exactly. You have to attack into it, so you're.
Oh,
stuck
sorry, I
with it.
misunderstood. Never mind.
Yeah. No
Oh,
problem.
he goes face.
And he's going for the full board clear, hoping to reach for lethal before his opponent can actually do it himself. And he finds a Master Swordsmith. That is not much. It's going to kill the Blood Mage, but ultimately not do much else. But there's a great Kel'Thuzad play with the Defias Ringleader, which I never thought I would ever say in my life.
That's the first time I actually hear that sentence.
I think it's the last one as well. I don't even know if I'll see this deck again. It's super awesome, but I just don't expect to see it tomorrow when I wake up.
And there's like that board will threaten so much damage because it's 1, 7, and 11, 17 points of damage. That's lethal next turn.
Yeah,
And
that's
plus
lethal.
1 from the Swordsmith, so that's 18 points of damage next turn. Wait, what?
He's going for the BGH Defies Ringleader Edwin.
That's
That's backstabbable.
Oh wait, I miscounted. Never mind. That's not lethal.
Yeah, he doesn't have
Like,
lethal
that's-
next turn,
no, no,
actually.
Yeah, yeah.
I just calculated. He actually doesn't have enough mana. He's going to have to go for the Edwin play as a 6/6. Try to get himself the biggest possible Van Cleave. Hope there's no AoE left. He's seen 2 flurries. All that could remain is a possible single Fan of Knives, I think. And now Hyped has got to hope that his opponent draws pretty dead. However, this is not a completely dead draw. In fact, it's a pretty good board.
And you heal yourself even. That's really great outcome here. So now you have to play Kolento Z, of course, because that's basically the only card you have in your hand. Even if you draw something bigger, right?
I mean, I could see this game being over depending on... the top deck.
So that's
It's a great
not
draw.
enough.
No, that is a
Almost lethal.
great draw, though. Never mind the lethal at this point, sadly. You have to play the defensive game again. It's not something you want to do. You check for Doomsayer, maybe, first, in case that's a thing. And... oh, man. That 2-drop needs to be a dry draw. It has to be terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, things could get out of control. And it is... a Murloc. Wow, you want to
Well,
talk
that
about a
doesn't
dry
really-
draw?
It didn't really matter if it's 3-2 or 2-1.
2-1,
You
yeah.
still sacrifice the 2-2.
Yeah, but you take less
right?
damage.
Yes. No, you don't take any damage because you can't kill the other creatures with your face anyway. So
You have
the outcome would be the same. You sacrifice the Defias for a 3-2, an example. It would be really bad if that would be something with 3 points of health.
Well,
That
don't
would
you just
be
attack
disastrous.
the 3-3 with your face and a 2-2?
I don't think so. You just sacrifice the...
No, you kill a 3-2. You can't let the bigger attack minion get potentially 2 attacks. Otherwise, I think that's a
Okay,
recipe
maybe you're
for
right.
disaster. And we're gonna see what he finds. It's a sap. That's going
That's
to
not
deny
bad.
the KT. Well, it's for Kolento, it's pretty good. You got a Vile Teacher sap, and I mean, how close to dead are you? Pretty much not at all.
And you
Yeah,
deny
kill.
the resurrection of the Edwin Van Cleef, which would be 2-2, so it's not like a big threat, but you deny some value here.
Yeah, you're giving yourself the ability to clean this board pretty effectively, and now Hyped again on the back foot.
So what has to hype? What is the draw that hyped will benefit the
Sap.
most?
Sap, I think. But it doesn't even have one left. He's already sapped 2 Belchers. I don't think he's got anything left.
Sprint. Oh wow.
Sprint.
So we don't know the deck that hype is playing, so we can't really even guess what can be the draws that you can get of sprint that will be better than just dropping KT.
Earthering Farseer, perhaps, but that's not better, unfortunately. I still think, regardless of what happens here, you have to go for KT. Attack into that 1-1. I mean, it's such a... depending on what he's got in this deck, we don't know anything about the follow-ups.
Well, he goes for the sprint most likely, so he
He's
knows
got an
better.
anti-heal bot. That could be a big
That's,
draw.
Fan of
And
knives.
Oh,
Well,
for the
he
next
can't
turn.
play that.
Well, you
So,
backstab that
backstab-
3. That's enough to kill this.
Yeah, that's quite nice.
That's gonna buy him a turn. Or 2 even more than that, 4 almost, depending on what Kolento does. And the heal bot! And there it is, the card that he was fetching for the next turn, and
Fan of
Kolento
knives
now.
into eviscerate, but he used both, right?
As far as I'm aware, yes, that prep is
that's
a whiff.
That's a
Not
whiff.
prepared at all. Unless he plays Illidan, I don't see him really getting any value out of that preparation. And now, Hyped is going to be swinging back in this game thoroughly with anti-heal bot and Ascendant Shieldmaster for an almost guaranteed win. Unless Kolento pulls off something absolutely out of this world.
I don't know why. I don't know what can you do.
Deathwing!
Oh yeah, okay.
It's always the Deathwing. It's always the Deathwing. When in doubt, shout Deathwing. And Kolento concedes he doesn't play Deathwing, obviously, otherwise he would have not have given up. So he gave information to his opponent, and Hyped very happy about that last play here. With the sprint over KT getting the anti-heal bot as a clutch draw.
is smiling so much.
Wow, that is
Well,
crazy.
that's a really crazy deck. So props to him, bringing
Yeah, I mean,
something like this to a really high profile league, right?
yeah, I mean, this is the reason I love Hyped as a player. He's the master of Rogue. I see so many Rogue decks that emerged from Hyped's, toying around with the class in general. He just always picks up the class, modifies it a little bit. I remember the first Trade Prince Galliwake's appearance in a tournament, I think, was in his initial Rogue deck after GVG, which was kind of interesting. It ran Ragnaros and Dr. Boom. And this seems to be somewhat of a throwback to that specific minion-heavy Rogue deck. And I'm really liking this style.
Yeah.
Really, really liking it.
So let's talk about the rest of the matchups. Kolento is still left with the Priest. So the Priest has to go against the Mage or the Druid. And I think Kolento will want to keep the Priest as the last deck. So we'll most likely will see the Rogue again or just a Warlock.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Rogue again. Warlock is probably pretty good against Mage. Many times we know that this is a pretty good matchup for something like a mid-range Warlock. Otherwise, it's either Rogue or Warlock. I don't see why anybody here in Kolento's position would go for Priest.
Yeah, definitely. So Kolento will play with Rogue and Hype will play Druid.
All right, so
that's quite okay for
Hyped,
especially if it's somewhat teched out against Rogues. It might be really relevant, like Harrison Jones, maybe a Spectre Knight, or double combo. That would be really great.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing an aggressive Druid and the opponent doesn't have heal bots in his Rogue deck, it's going to be really tricky for him to stabilize at any point and really do what he has to. I mean, it's one of the strengths of the double combo Druid is that decks that take a little bit of time to ramp up, especially if you're running Spectral Knights, right? Spectral Knights against Rogues, I mean, it's Blade Fury or bust. You have to trade so much into it.
Yeah.
Use those big weapons, use minions that have been Tinker's Sharp Sworded, for instance, so it's really tricky. So we'll see what Hyped has in his Druid deck. That's going to define how well the matchup will go for both players. Yeah, pretty big fan of Hyped in his Rogue deck building. I mean, I need to try that out.
Hey, you're rooting for Kolento. I'm rooting for Hyped here.
Right, sorry. Because he brought Priest. My apologies.
Yeah, you will see that Priest in the last game, you know?
Yeah. It's probably going to be the last game, in fact. I don't see him putting... I mean, if he beats the Druid, you're still not pulling out the Priest. Because if you run into Druid again, unless something changed about the Priest class and Kolento figured out some kind of secret tactics, then it's probably going to be a pretty one-sided matchup for the Druid.
Oh. Who knows? Who knows what will be going here? What will be going on here in this matchup?
Yeah, I think Druid versus Rogue comes down to how much charging the Druid gets to do, and how often if he gets a shade to grow, and the Rogue can't contest it. Well, because she has to rush for those AoEs like really, really hard. If the shade comes down on Innervate, you want to Blade Flurry the board like right away, even if it's only 2 minions or 1 minion.
That's very true. It's very similar to Warlock matchup. When you want to get the shade as soon as possible just to avoid those Hellfires and Shadow Flames.
Yeah, it's the same thing. You get it out, and by turn 4, it's out of range of that specific AoE, so it's giving you the ability to use the shade for the combo later on.
Yep. Okay, so we'll be jumping into the game really shortly. There's a pouring a pre-game beverage.
Yeah, they're finding their friend's
table.
Yep.
One more? Nope.
All right. Let's see what this looks like. I mean, I must be pretty happy about winning that first Rogue game, right? That way your opponent has no information. This is the first time you run into it.
Definitely something you want to do with that type of deck. And now Kolento has to be really, really happy about having the coin, especially with that agent and the backstab. Basically, the old type of rogues, it allowed you to trade for a Yeti or another 5 HP minion. So that's one of the
dagger.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the most important draws you can have. Now it's kind of diminished by the amount of pilot shredders in the metagame, but still it's not bad. Oh wow, Hype's hand is awful.
Yeah, Hype's hand is as bad as it gets. I mean, he does have the Loatheb, so that's one piece of the puzzle assembled. At least he's going to be curving on turn 3.
He got the shades, that's good.
Alright, now he only has to find a Powder Shredder, and then his curve is looking pretty godlike actually past that point.
Second engine of lore.
That's not quite
Still one more chance to draw something really good. Wow, Violet Teacher, that's a great draw. That's one of the best minions you can get against a druid.
Yeah, because before turn 6, he can't really deal with the teacher and the tokens. He swipes and hero powers on turn 6, but before that point, it's really, really difficult.
So I really like coining out the Violet Teacher here. He basically puts Hype into a position when he has to use a Keeper or a Wrath,
trade the shade at the same time. Well, I can smell the Loatheb. I can smell that Loatheb to lock down the progression of Kolento's Rogue at the moment. It's not even to win. It's not really using the Loatheb as an offensive body or to seal the game. It's just to stop Kolento a little bit.
But Kolento would go with a Piloted Shredder. I really like the preemptive attack on the Violet Teacher.
Yeah, then all you have to do is, top deck a swipe and you're good to go, right? Easy life.
Yeah.
Same. The life of a druid.
Wild Growth. Oh, that's kind of late to the party.
And Loatheb comes down and says, you know what? You're not playing spells on my watch. I mean, you could prep for 5. I think that's a great play. Actually, you can backstab for 5 in this position. Holy hell, I never thought I'd say that, but... Alternatively, I guess it's better to just Blood Mage and SI.
I thought about Blood Mage and SI, but he didn't go for that.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised by this line of play for Kolento. We'll have to see exactly what he's got in mind. I think he's going to push the damage as much as he can.
There's a Keeper. Also too late to the party.
Everything's too late to the party for Hype right now.
So next turn, Ragnaros.
Yeah, Swagnaros is going to have to stick here for at least one turn, but there's a sap in Kolento's hand. So.
And he puts Kolento in a position where he has to use the... Well, never mind, he got the agent for that.
Yeah, that backstab. Whoa, Kolento saying thank you.
Is this the real Kolento?
Yeah, I think there's no webcam. Magic Amy confirmed.
He's from Canada.
Yeah. I'm backtracing.
And that's actually why
right now.
That's why he said thank you, because Canadians are nice and they're thanking a lot.
He's based on what I can tell, he's currently located in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
Maybe that's the VPN talking.
Yeah, he's playing offshore. I don't know what's up with that tax evasion if he wins. I'm not sure what's going on here, guys. Can we do an investigation on Kolento? Something fishy's going on.
Wow.
Well, you thought Quartermaster was bad after a muster for battle. Have you ever seen a Drake double 3/3 against a Druid? And before Poison Seeds? Nope, that's not a Poison Seeds.
Poison Seeds and what?
It's Poison Seeds just to get 2/2s.
And face
instead of 3/3s and 4/4s.
Well, it hit the best minion, but still...
Yeah, but look at this. This is devastating.
Backstab, eviscerate, GG.
Yeah, do you even sap? I was gonna say, do you just backstab eviscerate after
actually, you can just sap, because you have 10 points of damage to the face with eviscerates.
Yeah, you sap, go face for 7, and then pretty much finish off your opponent next turn, unless something goes awfully wrong on your end of the side, on your side of the board. You could even double eviscerate now if you felt like it.
Do you think so?
No, you could. I'm just saying. That way you're guaranteed to get the
dagger.
spell damage from.
Oh yeah.
If there was a swipe, you would have seen it a little while ago, so Hyped has to get that swipe, I think, to do anything. Well,
so
sure, Drake. Oh, he's just gonna replay this, innervate, kill Blood Mage, and hope for a 3/3 to go down.
I was thinking about Ancient of Lore into drawing swipe.
Yeah, to kill 2 minions at once.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have to see what happens. If one of those 3/3s die, Hyped will live. Actually, does he even live? No, he doesn't live. He's still dead. Never mind. GG.
Oh,
Noxious Slide.
Bing.
Yeah, Noxious Slide,
Dead.
boys. This is Actually, wait. That's
3.
8, 11. He has actually, with Tinker's Sharp Sword, that's actually exactly, oh, that's a little over lethal. Because of the, wait, what? Oh, he's
What's
prepping.
happening?
Okay. Yeah. He's doing all the preps and all the zero cost minions. Zero cost spells. Well, that was a pretty convincing game here, but that's typically what happens when druids don't get the curve and rogues get theirs. And better yet, I mean, Hype didn't really have the removal necessary to handle the very early Violet Teacher.
Yeah.
That on its own
That's
was
what
enough to seal the game.
That's what happened. Exactly. Well, so it was quite a short game. Turn 8, right? Or turn 9?
Yeah, turn 9 here. I mean, Ragnaros was played on curve, and then Sap plus Ragnaros again into Zombie Chow. Innervate Hero Power, and that's going to be like the turn 9 win for Rogue. Not the most unusual, but usually what ends up happening is the game drags on until they find that sprint with all the crucial pieces. But Kolento had all those pieces pretty early, so didn't need to rely on those. So Hyped is going to be sticking to his Druid, and believe it or not, Kolento's going for his Priest.
So you think that priest has some really top secret, top notch Cloud9 plans to
Double
crush
Shrinkmeister.
Druid? Yeah.
You play double Shrinkmeister, double Shadow Madness, double Recombobulator, and double Cabal Shadow Priest, so you can get maximum Shrinkmeister value on a Druid.
And do you still lose against Druid with that?
Yeah, I mean, probably, but I mean, you can thought steal the innervates to accelerate everything out. I mean,
That would be
obviously-
perfect.
Yeah, it's one of those things people generally don't think about, but you have to consider that, honestly.
I still love the Thought Steal for combo.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best way to win against Druid. Otherwise, it's really tough to find lethal, unless you get a Light Warden and they've never seen that card and they let it live.
Yeah.
That's a pretty standard way to win as well.
Well, this time we'll see how the opening hand for Hyped will go, and it looks quite promising.
Yeah, Hype's hand is pretty insane, but Kolento's hand, and he's got the Cabal Shadow Priest for that Shrinkmeister value with the innervate play from Thoughtsteal. Everything was lining up perfectly, but he threw back the Cabal Shadow Priest.
Yeah, too bad, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure how he's gonna pull off this win.
Well is chosen. Okay.
Yeah, I love that card. It's actually a little on the broken side sometimes. Oh my god, do I see a turn 1 Shredder into a turn 2 Wild Growth?
Holy moly. Oh gosh.
Armageddon.
Do you play the turn 1 Natural Cleric?
Well, you're forcing some kind of
Well,
rat
he kept
play
it, right?
somewhere. Yeah. Kolento doesn't want to go through the motions, or disconnected, or he can't possibly have picked the priest. Honestly, like, it makes no sense to go with it. We mentioned it earlier. Okay, yeah, he picked the wrong deck. Okay, the admin tells us he picked the wrong deck. I was gonna say there was something really weird about him picking priest in the first place. Okay, so
What?
Kolento, yeah, he didn't want to go with priest.
I'm not sure. Never
Because
mind.
this is a blind pick, but I don't know. He's trying again with priest. Oh, there were 2 priest decks, and I told you this deck would contain what it's containing right now. Do you see what I see?
But I will not judge the picking the wrong deck thing. Just jump into the game.
Yeah, it's yeah. It can be abused. Let's just put it that way. But
So now,
we're gonna assume Kolento is truthful about this, but now Hype's hand, which would have been an auto win in the first game, it's a pretty good hand. It's suddenly a lot less
exciting.
Yeah, let's put it that way. The turn 1 Shredder would have been devastatingly strong, but now that's not the case. So, and Kolento picked up an injured Blade Master Circle of Healing, which that is very strong for Priest. Arguably one of the best ways to handle some of the mid game for Druids, or even the early game in that for that case.
Oh wow, that doesn't look really good.
And you know what? Kolento picked up some of the best draws I've ever seen for a priest. This is pretty much the nuts draw. Turn 2 injured Blade Master Circle with the Northshire up. I mean, it doesn't get better at all, and this is absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's.
Oh
I don't
my
know.
goodness.
Oh,
How
wow.
do you even do this? Well, good luck, Hyped. You'll need it. I hope you're equipped to deal with this. I'm not. He'll need a really good turn 5 innervate play with the
I
Ancient of
don't
Lore.
know what can you do.
You hope for the
didn't,
best.
and he didn't even cast the circle of healing. So he's just playing greedy with the second Blade Master. Wow.
Well, that is a good game. Well, I'm exaggerating. I'm saying this, but it might not be. I have some experience in the Priest matchups, and I would venture to say the only way you're going to convincingly win against Priest in a very sturdy manner is generally through plays like these. So Hyped is going to be forced to play a little, man, his Shade is going to have to be played so much differently than he'd like. Can he really afford not doing so? Well, here's what he wants to see right now. A Doomsayer come out of that Shredder.
Yeah, that's the only thing that can salvage the situation, I think. Well, that's not it.
That's not it, but it's also not completely horrible. But then again, none of this is exactly what either. I mean, I feel like Hyped could be getting a pretty nice top deck to help, stabilize a little bit. But with this Light Warden coming up, you've got another threat to handle.
I don't think you have any kind of way of dealing with those injured Blade Masters.
Okay, that's not too bad. Well, for the time being, it looks pretty grim, but there are swing cards with Druid that can be found sometime in the mid game.
Well, you have to play the load, right?
There's really no other way, because that way it can't get Shadow or Deathed. It's guaranteed to at least deal damage. You can combine that damage with a Keeper of the Grove to get a kill on one of the
You have to
injured.
draw a swipe next turn.
Yeah, you're hoping. Very, very much hoping.
Well, does the swipe even matter? I don't think so. Oh, really? Because it's still 5 points of damage, so one Blade Master will be left at 1 HP.
Alright, well, let's see what's going to happen here. I mean,
It's
the
like
Druid
a
is
double Twilight Drake opening for Handlock. It's even
That's
better
exactly
because
what it is, but better.
you can't even keeper those.
Yeah, and it draws you cards, so it doesn't get much better than that. So you silence the Belcher, I guess, and then you attack into that 4/5 and play the Zombie Chow. But then... Man, you know what? If that first hand would have been... I mean, that first game looked so promising. If Kolento hadn't picked up the wrong deck, this would be an auto win for Hyped, almost. It would have been a much different outcome. So we have to see here how Hyped is going to be handling the situation. He needs to find a swipe very, very soon.
I don't think that will even rescue him. I'm thinking about the possibilities of what can you do, and well,
okay, he plays Alkanai Soul Priest. You play Shredder. Your Shredder dies. He has Sylvanas. Your Shredder spawns Mistress of Pain. You give him Mistress of Pain, and then he dies.
yeah.
That's good, right?
You even Cabal Shadow Priest the Zombie Chow instead of Keeper of the Grove.
Yeah, because you got Alkanai.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you do, I guess. But then you have to trade... I don't know if you do, really. Wild Power Master looks like... I mean, Cabal Shadow Priest on a 2/4
Well,
looks good enough.
Okay.
He's just gonna ping face and... with the... He can use Light of the Naru as an offensive card next turn. Oh, man. Yeah, swipe would be nice, but not a lifesaver. You have to almost play Ancient of Lore for heals at this point, as terrible as that sounds. Oh, man. Then Shadow or Death would wreck you, so you really can't do it. Just kind of unfortunate that he's stuck in this position of having to draw cards when his opponent is facing him down with 10 damage. Alright. I think there's
Shadow
a
Word
pretty...
Dev.
Wait, how much damage there's... Wait, is that lethal? No, it's almost lethal. It's close to lethal, though. It's a very, very close to lethal turn. But not quite there. He's 2 off. I was gonna say Holy Nova steals the game, but he's 1 mana off of doing it.
Yep. Well, that was fast. You have to say that. Like the game.
Yeah, I've never seen a
Basically.
druid deck come out like this.
This is the thing. This is the thing I was talking about, like with the warrior, right?
Yeah.
Basically, the same happened.
Yeah, the exact same thing happened earlier. We were expecting Druid to win this most of the time, and ultimately that didn't work out at all. So, admittedly, like in the bigger picture would probably prove the stats right that Priest tends to lose, but when you get Circle of Healing with double injured with a Northshire Cleric early game, I mean, it doesn't get better than that, especially if you're playing greedy and your opponent doesn't have the Wrath to kill the first injured Blade Master.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You're very right.
So,
Well, now, it's 2-1 for Kolento, right?
yeah, and there's 1 deck left in his lineup. Because this is a conquest format, obviously, if you win with a deck, you can't reuse it. So he's got only 1 deck left.
Sorry.
Priest is out, so he's got his Warlock. And Hyped has to fight the Warlock with Druid, and I believe a Mage deck that we haven't seen yet. We don't even know if it's Mech Mage, if it's Freeze Mage, Mid-Range Mage, the Reynad Mage that we saw earlier. I mean, they are both in Tempo Storm, so there's a possibility that they're shared. They have a shared deck there.
Definitely, but really, Kolento's off the hook with the Priest, which has tremendous value in this match. So Hyped is on the back foot here. Like he has to get the best draws now, and hope for the best. I think the Druid versus Warlock might go either way, and versus Mage covered that fully.
Yeah.
So
It's a pretty favorite
nothing new.
matchup. It's
Yeah.
mid-range mage. Mid-range warlock, that is. So we're going to have to be jumping into the game. I wouldn't be surprised to see Kolento play Handlock. It's one of the deck that he... I think it's a comfort pick for him. It's something that he's played quite a lot in the past. The thing is, he also was one of the first few to bring the newer versions of mid-range warlock to the tournament. I think that's one of the few decks that he played. Was it in Kinguin Pro League Week 1 he brought warlock? Or was that... in Battle of the Best, I think that he might have brought that.
I think that was
I just
Battle of the
forget.
Best.
Yeah, I forget. But I remember he brought a really solid one with Floating Watcher.
Floating Watcher. That wasn't definitely KPL.
Okay, yeah, that might have been Battle of the Best a while back. But it was a really interesting twist on mid-range warlock, something that I expected to crop up, and he brought that and stomped people with it, really, really well. In fact,
Stomped. Wow.
yeah, just completely sweeped people. It was crazy. Well, wild growth here for Hyped. It's always a good start. Admirable's Beard casts wild growth. It's super effective.
Okay. Well, you got quite a good opening hand with Hyped here. That's definitely want to keep the wild growth and Palette Shredder. I'm thinking about keeping the Big Game Hunter, but if you're sure that it might be a mid-range warlock, then the Big Game Hunter might have no value at all.
Well, you have to put Kolento on the possibility of a handlock, and even some mid-range warlocks do run giants. So I think keeping the BGH is a safe play. In worst case scenario, it's gonna get you a Mal'Ganis in the mid-range lock at some point.
Well, we saw today. Who was that? Who was playing that warlock with the Molten Giants and Dread Infernal? And
That was Strife Crow, yeah.
Oh yeah, that was Strife Crow.
Yeah. Well, so far it's looking like it could be either of them, but I would venture to say that Ancient Watcher is kind of telling me it's more likely to be a handlock. But then again, both decks have been known to run a similar array of cards. Until I see that Mountain Giant, I'm not convinced.
For now, we see the Cookie Cutters cards.
Yep, pretty much.
Well, Iron Big Owl with Dark Bomb would be really insane here, but that's not the case. So you just go with Ancient of War. I'm sorry, Ancient Watcher.
Yeah, you set up that A pretty good board. I mean, you've got the Owl. You don't really have to use it offensively besides Sylvanas against a Druid. So...
Well, Zombie Chow is not something you want to draw in this situation. Mm,
Do you Wrath for card draw? Or do you keep that for a keeper play on a Twilight Drake?
I think you should just go aggressively. You have a swipe. One swipe kinda, gets you the additional reach to finish the game, but you're lacking the Savage Roar, which is even more potent than Force of Nature.
Yeah. What I like though is that he's got the BGH, so if he made a good read and this is in fact Handlock, which so far we just don't know. Although this is looking way too much like Handlock to not contain giants, I'd say. I mean, when you're tapping so many times, I haven't seen Nerubian Egg so far. That's one of the telltale signs that you're facing a mid-range Warlock, is Nerubian Egg generally pops up every time.
Oh, second pilot, sure. That's quite nice. But do you want to...
Get Shadow Flamed? I don't know. That's the question, isn't it? Do I want to get Shadow Flamed? Let me ponder that.
Well, I think you have to play the second one.
Yeah, because if Shadow Flame hits, I guess Dark Bomb is the only thing that really bothers you. Like, Shadow Flame, Dark Bomb is the only way for the... I guess Iron Beak Shadow Flame is also not too bad.
There's the giant.
Giant number 1 detected. Will it get value? So there's the Iron Beak Owl. And there's the Shadow Flame. That's gonna be a fight for the board. Alright,
not bad. That's not bad.
That's pretty good. Oh, oh man. Wait, do you get Rag out?
You can just play Rag, and I mean coin Rag, innervate hero power, kill the 2/1, go face. Your opponent is at 9, and you like to finish, because there's a
You can't do that when you don't have the killing blow, right?
Yeah,
you need to do this when you have the at least like the Force of Nature Savage Roar, at least Force of Nature. But without any of those, this is going to be a pretty awkward turn.
Kolento is at 6 points of mana, so if Hype thinks like I can coin out the Ragnaros, kill the 2/1 with my Shrinkmeister, and then get Kolento to 12, then he can't play. He can't play both Siphon Soul and a Molten Giant. But it's still really weak. So just play.
It's funny how psychologically it feels less bad when you actually innervate coin Rag than when you play Rag and then innervate hero power.
He goes for it. Wow.
Well, that's a high pressure play. He's thinking to himself, if the Molten Giant falls down, you know what? I don't really care because I have the BGH, so I'm going to press for damage and hope everything goes well. And if that Rag lives... Well, I think you could just keep for the grow of your own Ragnaros, and then you attack into the Giant.
But there will be no Giant. There was double Molten Giants for Siphon Soul. Because you're dead only to...
Yeah, you're pretty dead actually right now.
Well, you will have 12 points of HP, and it's turn 8, so you only will see like double swipes, and that's the only lethal you can get, right? It's 11,
yeah,
so that's
11.
not even
you're not even,
And you saw Innervate, so you're almost sure there's no second Innervate.
Let's just say you're not playing around combo. Alternatively, there's a decent reason to maybe Molten, anti-Healbot Sunfury instead of Siphon Souling, because at that point there's so many good targets on the board. There's so many targets for Ragnaros on the board that it doesn't really feel that terrible. He does go for that.
Definitely the best outcome here.
And now...
There's the Savage Roar. But
so do you silence off your own Rag to kill one of those Giants?
I don't think you can manage to pull that off. You
can't really justify it. So you BGH swipe, maybe.
Big Game Hunter, and you're lacking 1 point of mana to kill off second Giant with hero power. That sucks.
Yep, you're just short of the mana.
What about silencing one of the Giants?
and then BGHing the other one and going face.
Yeah.
If Rag hits face,
It's very risky, and I don't think it's worth
so risky. You're going all in on a play that might not work. But I guess if you're going to be pushing for damage very aggressively, there is a good argument to be made. I mean, you could always just Savage Roar here and trade into the second giant.
Imagine there was no top deck.
Yeah, Molten. This would have been very different. I don't mind the Savage Roar here. You Savage Roar and you kill the giant with your Shrinkmeister, right?
Yeah, I think that's one of the best options.
Well, that's another alternative as well, where you reduce the number of targets for Ragnaros, and as a result, you might get yourself a little bit of damage output, and if stuff lives on this board, you might get a good Savage Roar. And face. That is semi-good, mind you.
Yeah.
That is currently semi-good. So, Siphon Soul.
Siphon Soul and kill off Big Game Hunter and kill off Shrinkmeister, right?
Yeah, I think there's no argument. You've got to be removing those minions off the board as they are.
Next turn you can heal yourself with Lord Jaraxxus.
Yeah, and then you're out of range of pretty much anything the Druid can do.
Yeah, so...
Unless things change, but I doubt it. Well, that was a really clutch Molten Giant here. That was a really crazy one. Doesn't mean Kolento couldn't have been able to stabilize, but that was a crazy one.
Yeah, you have to kill that dude. Ancient of Lore.
And out comes a card. It's going to give Hive the possibility of top decking something relevant, possibly.
Oh,
that
that's
is
not relevant.
relevant.
Yeah.
Speaking of relevant, that is not it. And now you're going to start seeing Infernals drop. Yeah, you probably don't play Voidcaller here. I'm just going to put that out there. Yeah. But then...
So what about...
Go face with everything. Yeah, just go full face, I guess. But then if he's got combo, you lose the giant and then you die. And so you have to trade the giant away.
Yeah, you have to kill the Ancient of Lore because that will be exactly equal.
Yep, it's 15. So we're going to have to see what Hyped manages to find here. I like this Azure Drake and the Wild Growth. Wait. Actually, you do it. You have Keeper afterwards.
You do it. And then you finish off with Keeper. No! Hyped, what are you doing?
He doesn't see the opponent's hand. He might be thinking he might have some more healing. But I think this is a good turn to go full all-in at this point. You've got to take that chance. No. You know what? This is not bad. This is also not bad at all. It's still fine. But I think that would have been a much more aggressive line of play. Double Drake is as good as it's going to get. And you know what? The lethal might still be achieved.
Yeah. Now this is intense. So Inferno and defend the
Vargas. Coil, I guess. Do you want to get the coil?
I think you do. Oh, Void Coil.
Doesn't want to get the coil.
So you don't kill any of those?
I mean, that seems really risky, but it's looking like that's his line of play, and he goes for it. This could be very punishable, and I think, in fact, it's going to get heavily punished.
So is that
lethal?
If that will be Rev or second?
It doesn't matter. He's got combo. Does it matter?
Wait, you kill one of the... One trans goes to the 3-4. Then you use...
Two of them to the other one, and then you've got lethal with hero power, but you're one short.
No, one short. That's 14.
Well, you have swipe and keeper. Do you really care? I mean, you've got to do it.
Well, the swipe deals 6 points of damage now and 3 points of AoE.
So swipe the 7/7 and hit it with your face.
That feels
kind of mediocre, but I guess at the same time you could swipe face, attack the 3/4 with your hero power, and then trade a Drake into the 7/7.
What about?
Okay, I think this is the play. Maybe swipe face, then trade a 4/4 into the 7/7, and your face into the 3/4.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can even play the shade on the back of that for even safer Voice of Nature Savage Roar.
Now, I wanted to say about silencing the 7/7.
And then swiping. Yeah, you can still do it, and you're gonna be able to get.
And then you kill. Oh, well, wait, we are not thinking about the void color, so yeah. We know that there's no demon. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so easy as a caster to get carried away by the information you have. But if you put yourself in your opponent's shoes, suddenly in the player's shoes, suddenly things are very different. But still, Hyped is in a dominating position in this right now, and
So Hyped made the best call. I think that was the best possible thing you could
from his
could have done.
perspective,
Yeah, from his
definitely.
perspective, yeah.
Yeah, that is absolutely right. Heal bot needs to be found, but it wouldn't even do anything.
The Red Inferno.
What is going on? That is the second Dread Infernal we've seen today.
Well, someone had to play that on a stream and made like a huge impact.
Well, I mean, I guess they're both on the same team, C9. So Strifecrow and Kolento might have been sharing information about the whole Warlock deck list. And that will equalize the series. 2-2.
That
Hype
was
versus
a
Kolento.
really interesting match.
Yeah, to say the least. I mean, usually decks like hands like these don't really. I think the Ancient of Lore that Hyped got when he was running out of steam is the exact card he needed to maybe fetch for lethal, because at some point in the mid game he was completely out of options, and then he top decked the Ancient of Lore, got himself 2 cards, and then was double Drake, back-to-back Drake with an insane swipe. Those were really clutch draws, but ultimately he got the win against Handlock. And I'd say maybe the mid-range Druid with double combo has a pretty decent matchup against that.
I'm not really sure if that's double combo. We didn't see the second Force of Nature, but who knows? Maybe.
Well, I didn't see Mountain, so maybe it's not even Handlock. Maybe it's just mid-range, it's Demon Handlock, they call it, where they
I think
just
that's
sub
the
out.
same as Strifecrow is playing, and I'm betting that there's no Mountain Giant, as you said.
Yeah.
Well,
that's kind of that's gonna be a really close series. Warlock from Kolento versus Hyped Mage. It's gonna boil down to what Hyped Mage actually is. I can pin him on any type of mage, and I'd love to see more of that deck that Reyna had played earlier. The flood the board and then get yourself some Echo of Medivh value.
mm-hmm.
That's something I want to see more of.
Yep. Well, but I think Kolento will go with just Mech Mage, Wait, never mind what I'm talking about. Kolento has to play with the Warlock. So Hyped, what is about Hyped? Like, he plays almost everything, right?
I think Mage and Rogue primarily, and Mage as I think that's the second most played class, I'd venture to say. It's a class that he's built a lot of decks for, and he's still pretty known. I mean, his name is attached to Hyped's Mage and oh my Freeze Mage.
Yeah, exactly. And it even has a Pyroblast.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the pyro value.
This should be quite an okay matchup for Hyped, I think.
Well, yeah, it's a lot better than it seemed like initially. I mean, Mech Mage would have been a pretty tough one for him, but Handlock is a lot more manageable, and now we see the Mal'Ganis confirming that this is, in fact, Demon Handlock, essentially, the hybrid between both decks. And Hyped will be able to wipe this board multiple times over.
Yep.
It's going to be a bit tricky for Kolento to handle.
What's the difference? And the Mal'Ganis is a difference because it can basically act like a ice block.
Yeah, and the thing is, much like Mountain Giants, you ramp them out with your life tap. You get Mal'Ganis out with Void Callers, and essentially it acts as a ramp, a pseudo ramp, in effect, because you're not even paying the 9 mana, and you get a 3/4 on the board earlier. So that gives you 2 Drakes and 2 Void Callers for turn 4, more consistently. And you're not, you're never going to top deck a dead Mountain Giant late game. Worst case scenario, you at least get a Void Caller.
That's true. Also, the Void Caller is really great against board wipes.
Yeah, set it up when you expect your opponent to just go.
And then you go for free Mal'Ganis.
Yep. Well, that's not a bad turn. You could just do it now because Freeze Mage doesn't even have the Fireball yet.
And there's no silences. There are no silence, right, in the Freeze Mage deck, so you can deny that. If Kolento will not draw an example, a Jaraxxus next turn. This might be really tricky.
Mad Scientist is doing some work, punching Kolento in the face for 4 total damage.
What do you think about Hellfire this turn? You go into Mad Scientist and the Hellfire, and then
You get yourself the instant Mal'Ganis.
Yeah.
If you had an Iron Beak Owl, maybe I'd consider it. You know how frustrating it is as a mage when your opponent plays Mal'Ganis as you're about to one-shot him because you set up Alex?
Mm-hmm. I bet.
It's the most frustrating thing.
What to do? What to do?
Well, Ice Barrier's set up. He's pretty much set on Secrets right now. I mean, he's not really worried about any of them.
You can't really play Doomsayer plus Nova, right? So
You could do it next turn. You go Frostbolt on the Void Caller, force the Mal'Ganis out, and then you
so
can
you just
play
Doomsayer, just like without anything. Mad Scientist has no value at all.
Yeah, but what you're getting is not discarding your hand, essentially.
That's true.
I don't think Kolento would silence that Mad Scientist. I really
No,
don't.
no, for sure not.
I really don't see the point of that.
So you want to keep the Void Color alive, right? Because you want to keep it as a
Insurance.
yeah, just as a way to get something out after the board clears. Oh, he will silence it. That's interesting.
Well, that's going to give the Doomsayer quite a bit more value than it would have otherwise had, I can tell you that much. I think Kolento is spinning hyped on playing something unorthodox.
Mm-hmm.
But Hyped is playing the most classical Freeze Mage deck I've ever seen in my life. And he's just going to set up the Mal'Ganis Nova next turn with a good ping.
Well,
he's...
Kolento has to keep the anti-heal bot after Alexstrasza, right? And
Yep.
the Molten Giant is dead card. So Big Gun Hunter is also dead card. What can you do here? That's also dead card. That's not looking good at all for Kolento.
Yeah, silencing the Mad Scientist, I think, was a really odd decision.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I'm still trying to figure out what it was aiming to achieve. Now you just ping and Nova Doomsayer, right? You've seen one owl. You've got to be rejoicing.
Well, your opponent will Siphon Soul the Doomsayer, right?
Yeah. No, it's a definite thing, but you're pretty happy to force him to react to this because you've got a Blizzard Doomsayer after this. So unless he finds another soul or a Shadow Flame with some kind of
Or
power
second
whale
owl.
mission, and
Yeah.
yeah, he needs to find an answer right now.
Dr. Boom for 2 points of mana, being wrong. You deal no
What
damage
a-
to yourself, that's quite nice.
Yep. And what I really like about Dr. Boom in this matchup is when it's used properly, and it, by good players,
Oh,
it generally.
what
well,
about-
never mind the
What about
Doomsayer.
Flame Strike?
Yeah, you just freeze and you pass, I guess. You could just throw Doomsayer because you haven't really seen your second Nova. But
Well, that was okay. If something happens to the Doomsayer, then you Flame Strike, right?
exactly. You're gonna be getting yourself the board wipe no matter what, and Kolento's gonna be having to react here. Life tap for free. Take advantage of that ability from Mal'Ganis. But now he's on too many cards. Do you just throw down the Sludge Belcher to get a slime back? Such value. No, you call your own minion for card draw, and then you have to discard another thing.
Yeah.
You just
Well,
coil yourself, I guess. I don't even know. Just coil something. You could play Belcher for the slime. I don't even dislike that.
yeah,
but it's so weird.
It feels okay.
Kind of like throwing Tyrion on the board when it's about to be wiped.
Well,
Except now you're getting trash.
Oh, wow. I just wanted to
That
ask
is
if
insane.
he's playing Antonidas because he kept the coin when he had the option to, play something different the turn with a coin.
How does Kolento handle this?
I don't know.
I don't
know,
see
man.
any answer in his hand right now.
I don't think there's a way out.
I have the perfect macro for this on my keyboard. It does escape concede very, very quickly, 0.3 seconds.
Live tap concede.
You don't even live tab.
Prep concede and coin. There's no way you can win this game anymore.
I feel like the Iron Beak Owl play from Kolento was a complete disaster. I keep thinking back on it, and I feel like that was a big mistake.
He could have just killed the mad scientist with his Drake, right? And that's basically it. To deny the secret, because basically that was the same outcome. There were two secrets out.
Secrets on the board, yeah. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what Kolento was thinking at that point.
You know, this matchup is really, really hard for the Warlock anyway, so...
Yeah.
Maybe it didn't really matter at all in the big picture.
Yeah, I mean, I'm giving myself the one-time right to really criticize a play that Kolento makes, because I usually don't see him make plays like these that feel somewhat blatantly, you know, being a mistake. And I feel like that was kind of a weird lineup. But then again, he might have been expecting a different deck than what came out from Hyped, because insofar as he knew, Reynad played a really wonky mage, and all he saw from Hyped were those two mad scientists. So was this the same deck Reynad brought? Maybe it was. He hadn't seen any indication that it might have been something else.
Maybe he was fearing of a counter spell for like a third secret.
It feels to me like he Hyped bluffed the third secret, like the Temple Storm mage or whatever, the Flood mage. The Reynad
That's funny
brought.
if that's true.
And then Kolento said, "Oh, that's definitely it. Otherwise, he would never play a mad scientist on this board." And then he misplayed into this, and then Hyped ended up winning on the back of it. I'm gonna have to ask somebody, but I'm really curious to see if that might have been Hyped's thought process while he made that play. So, that being said, guys, this is it for the entire series.
3-2 for Kolento.
For Hyped.
Sorry. So Kolento is 1-3 in general in Kinguin Pro League.
What an
upset with Hyped?
Right, you're right. Okay, yeah, but it's an upset in the bigger picture, obviously.
Yeah, in the bigger picture, yes. I was definitely seeing Hyped, Kolento higher in the brackets after 4 weeks, but you know, in such stacked leagues, everything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way things go. Some higher players will generally end up having a lower score. Somebody has to have the weird score. So that being said, we'll be right back after we're going to be taking a short break. I think after this game, we'll be going into the, what is it?
I'm telling you right now. Fifth match of the day, it will be Fraser versus Savage. And interesting enough, it's a match between two players that have no win yet. So I think it's very interesting.
One of those players is going to be, whoever wins this is going to at least feel satisfied that he finally gets the first one in the Kinguin Pro League. So that's going to be at least a psychological win for whoever gets the next one. So on this note, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.